This is my 1.5" scale 7.5" gauge train, model electric train, and it consists of two prototypical 1925 Baldwin Westinghouse Class D steeple cab electric switchers. As you can see, I have two of them that are MU'd, multiple units. My train consists of a drop center flat car, a gondola riding car, and a caboose. I'd like to describe the complete brake system that I have on this train, which consists of a combination of electro-dynamic braking on the locomotives and a positive pressure air brake system. To start out with, I use a solid state controller that was made by Dynamic Controls. They're actually a New Zealand company, but you can buy them through distributors in this country. And I use a DS100. And it was actually the same kind of controller that used to be used in the role models, and this is what originally came on one of the locomotives. Each one of the wheels has a 12 volts permanent magnetic motor that is geared by a 6.5 to 1 gear ratio per axle. So as you can see, a total of 4 trucks, and so a total of 8 12 volt motors. When the controller is shut down and turned to zero, each one of these motors turns into a generator. It gives quite a lot of powerful and mechanical advantage, dynamic electric braking capacity. In fact, I could almost brake the entire train just by the electrodynamics. But I wanted a more positive system and also a safety backup, and so I put on a positive air pressure brake system, which consists of 4 storage tanks that are mounted in a prototypical fashion on each one of the locomotives, and these consist of heavy gauge steel welded tanks, of which actually were just off the shelf. You can buy them at any steel supply, and which is quite of an overkill because of the thickness of the metal. And here's an example of one. In fact, these tanks probably will hold up to probably over 1,000 pounds PSI. But I did this for 2 reasons. One was that these tanks fit just the exact prototypical space on the original locomotive if you research the Baldwin Westinghouse steeple cab, and also weight. It adds a lot more weight and traction to the locomotive. Each one of these tanks is all interconnected, all 4 of them, and they're connected through a Foster quick release valve that you can buy through Hose Express or something like that, and each one of them has a valve, a shut-off valve that I modified from gas valves that you can buy at any hardware store. I think I have a total of about 3 liters capacity of air pressure. The air compressor is just a simple little 12 volt air compressor that you plug into a cigarette lighter to pump up your tires on an emergency basis, and these things run all the way to $10, and they're just almost throwaway. And I had to go with this because of the space. Even though the General Motors air compressor that you can get out of a junkyard off of a Cadillac, a load leveler system, works quite nicely, and many people use those, but the trouble is I had a lot of space limitations. And as you can see, I have a manifold with 2 hoses to them, and I can show you that in just a second. It works in conjunction with the air pressure regulator, so when the air pressure regulator shuts off the air compressor, it bleeds down to 0, the manifold, and it helps the air compressor get started. So let me go over here to the air compressor, and you can see that I had quite a space limitation of where to put it. This is the very basic off-the-shelf pressure regulator that regulates the pressure in the tanks, and I've got this set to about 45 to 65 pounds. Over here is the control that controls the line pressure. You see a little, you can get these either 12 volt or 24 volt solenoid activated valve in conjunction with a little mini air pressure control valve, of which you can control and adjust by your finger to adjust the line pressure. And as you can see, when the air pressure valve is activated, it sends air pressure to the adjusted rate of 25 pounds down through the line to each one of the trucks. And then when the air pressure line is released, it not only shuts the air to the line off, but it also vents out and zeroes the line pressure, which releases the brakes. I have two pressure gauges. One on the left is the tank pressure. You can see it's bleeding down there just a little bit, and then the one on the right is the line pressure, and I've got that set to just a little bit above 25 pounds. Actually, to tell you the truth, it really doesn't even need to be that high. The line from there goes to the super scale, 2.5 inch scale glad hands that are connected in between each one of the cars. And those work actually quite nice. The guy who made those did a very nice job of building them. The only problem is the little hat-shaped gasket ring that he has in there starts to leak after about 30-35 pounds, something like that. But it still works quite nicely for the line pressure that I use. And as you can see, the standard position of the glad hands starts out from the the left-hand side of the car, and comes underneath the coupler and then back over to the left-hand side. Each one of the cars being situated the same, and so all cars are interchangeable, and you can also turn all the cars around if you like. Now let me go back here to the trucks. I use Mountain Car brand trucks and they have installed one actuator in between the trucks with cams and levers, and there's an adjustment, you can see this here, an adjustment underneath the truck where you can adjust the tightness of the trucks. Strongly suggest that you need to keep your brakes and your brake shoes adjusted, not too tight, not too loose, because the brake shoes over time do wear down, and if you want them to work maximum efficiency, then they should be adjusted. And you can see where my modified gas valve that I've got at each end of the line on each one of the cars, so I can do a positive shut-off, and also it makes the train cars totally interchangeable, and I can switch them around going forward or backwards. I also use a plastic line in all my lines, and those are just off the shelf from the hardware store, and they work quite nicely. They're cleared for about 100 pounds, of which I only use about 25 pounds, and they're a heck of a lot easier to use and work with than either copper or aluminum. And I show a close-up picture over here of some, and that's the glad hands right there, and that's my plastic lines, and then these are my fittings that you get, Foster fittings there, the 1/8 scale, and you can get them through, I got those through Hose Express. And then this is also a duplicate of the little solenoid valve, and you can see this is 12 volt even though I'm using a 24 volt, and you can get this set up to where it's either standard on or standard off, depending on which way you want to activate in conjunction with your controller. But the brake system works quite nicely, and I'm really quite satisfied with it. When I'm going downhill at the steepest grade at Train Mountain, 3.25%, going full throttle, 100 amp output on my controller, I'm going about 6.5-7 miles an hour and carrying 2 people, I can stop in about less than 8 feet or less. And I can also adjust the rate at which I stop. I can either just use dynamic braking, or I can either use just air braking, or a combination of the two, which will basically slow me down at varying rates. But anyway, this is the system that I have. If you'd like to have any more details of it, please contact me through the Friends of Train Mountain email forum, or through the email of in the discussion group at Train Mountain, and I'll be more than happy to send you any more specific information. And this is only one of many systems, and I've borrowed and from systems. There's just about as many train systems and air brake systems out there as there are trains, and so as my brakeman would say, tracks ahead.